Hey everyone, it's Clint here from the Butterfly Effect. Just wishing you well and hoping everything is great in your world. Just letting you know that we're just about to embark on the 20th anniversary tour of Begins here. Check your socials for the dates. Come and get around us. It's going to be a lovely evening of loud, raucous, alternate, heavy rock prog music, and I know you're going to have a fat time. So get down and see us as soon as you can. Chris, what do you got for me? Let's go.
Mate, after that, I don't know. You've just wound me up completely. That was an awesome intro. How you going, brother?
Good, mate. Good. Hey, it's great to be hanging with you today. I'm stoked to be spruiking the tour. The 20th anniversary begins here. They said we'd never make it, mate, and we're here. So big up to everyone
Sticking up your
who
clackers.
said, mate, Australian heavy music is alive and well and still going. You've got all of the bands that paved the way and trailblazed back in the day. And can I just say, I'm super stoked to be a part of it 20 years on. And can I just say, I probably am a little bit heavier. I'm a little bit wiser. I've got a few more grey hairs, but we're still here.
Hell yeah, brother. And welcome. Still here it is too, mate. It's good to have you still here.
Stoked, mate. Stoked.
As you say, mate, the Butterfly Effect embark on the Begins Here 20th anniversary tour, starting in Brisbane on February the 1st and going through Sydney, Canberra, Newcastle, Perth, Melbourne, Hobart, finishing Adelaide on 23rd. Like, I think you pretty much answered this already, mate, but how high are the excitement levels?
Oh, we're nervous. There's a sense of anxiousness around the group at the moment, and we're nervous because we want it to be great. We haven't played some of these songs for 20 years. I think we played Without Wings in its demo format at the Hard Rock Cafe on the Gold Coast in 2001/2, and that was the last time that thing got played. Overwhelm got played, I think, 2004. That was the last time it got played. So we've had to relearn, rejig, and duck, weave, and dodge because the brain isn't as malleable as it was 20 years ago. And can I tell you, I've poured about 1,000,000,000 beers on that thing. I'm surprised I can still breathe. Uh, my cognitive function isn't too bad in the mornings only. By the afternoon, I'm screwed. But look, the excitement is palpable around the group at the moment. Glenn's coming up this evening. I'm going in the studio tomorrow to do some touch-ups for vocal stuff. We're doing a full band practice, mate. It's all systems go. We're firing on all cylinders, which is great.
Okay, and demand for the tour's been so high, mate. Like when you initially announced it, there was only probably 7 dates, I think, but you've more than doubled the amount since then. Like that's got to be it's got to be make you feel good that there's so many people want to come out and see this.
It's capitalism at its best, let me tell you. But yeah, yeah. No, it's great because you know what? The thing is, we wouldn't have extra shows if there wasn't demand for it. But how's this? Kurt was in the band room the other day, and he was kind of having this insecure moment about who wants to come and see Butterfly Effect 20 years on. And I said, mate, it was a very important album for not only for me, but a lot of my mates. Like, they still talk about it as one of the seminal and one of the, like, the trailblazing albums of our generation, which was the early 2000s sort of thing of heavy rock bands in Australia. And like they always throw us in with Cog, Carnival, Sunk Loto, and the list goes on and on. And I feel privileged just to be mentioned in that group of bands by itself. So that's huge. So to actually have people want to come out and see the show 20 years on and listen to those songs played in its entirety from start to finish, and there will be an encore set, so don't sweat it. You'll still get to hear, 4 or 5 get to hear us waffle on a bit more. So it's extremely exciting. We feel extremely honoured and humbled that there's still demand for the band 20 years on for that particular album.
Yeah. Now, on that note, mate, like you are playing the album from front to back in its entirety, but how difficult is that to do? Like when you wrote the album, I couldn't imagine that you ever thought you're going to have to play the whole lot one day. So, like, is there bits in there that it's hard to reproduce?
Yeah, 100%. So as I said, we haven't played like Without Wings since it was in its demo format, and of course, there's a lot of orchestration. Back in the day, we didn't have backing tracks, so that's why we didn't play it, just purely because it wouldn't have sounded like we wanted it to sound. So, but now with like backing tracks, and we're taking a full menagerie of other musicians on the road with us this time around, and we've spent an absolute bloody mozza on our production, on lighting and sound and crew and all the rest. So look, we've thrown it to the absolute wall because we want to make this as memorable an experience as we can. But it was very hard in the beginning for us to reproduce some of those songs. That's why they didn't get played. Whereas something like 1 Second of Insanity is, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But we're looking forward to presenting this album from front to back with all the extra pieces we're going to throw in. And we're in the rehearsal space the other night, on the weekend actually, and we played through just me, Kurt, and Ben, and it sounded amazing. It was really kicking ass. So yeah, I can't wait for people to hear it because it's never been played in its entirety. So this is going to be a brand new thing for the crowd and for us, which keeps us fresh and it challenges us. That's, as I was saying, there's a nervousness and anxiety around the crew. So, and that's a good thing because when you've got the band on their toes and we're all hopping, it means we care and we really want to, go out there with a bang.
So take us back to when you first started, like the album begins here. Like you'd had your EP came out that was pretty successful, but you sit down to write your debut album. Like what were you thinking?
Oh, what were we thinking? Probably about the after party more so than anything else. We're thinking about all the naughty things. We're thinking about that. No, all we wanted to do was was write a really kick-ass, dark, brooding album. That's it. We knew the strength of the EP. We had a great success with the EP. We had a lot of support from alternative radio, and it was just at the time when the internet was starting to really pick up and was booming, and people were communicating that way, and all of the streaming sites were starting in their very infant stages. So, and look, we were very lucky to have Roadshow as our record company, who put us on the start of movies. I mean, you would have remembered seeing our film clips at the start of any of the Roadshow stuff, which was huge as a promotional tool. But we weren't really trying to do anything other than just write a great album with like big choruses, big riffs, smashing drums. It was just, I mean, 4 kids really in a rehearsal space trying to be as loud and as obnoxious as possible, but with a sense of kind of maturity about this album. And it's funny because when Kurt was sort of writing it, and I hear these demos on the daily, or weekly, I would sit there and go, man, where's this coming from? And it was so easy to write over and so easy to sing over, and it really just clicked. And then shortly after, that's and that's the story. I mean, they got picked up. People really gripped to it. Shortly after, we're doing touring through Europe and America, and people are coming to see us, and to us, big numbers. So that was amazing. And I can't thank everyone enough for their support because it's truly humbling, and I feel very privileged to be a part of it. So yeah, it was tough. We didn't set out to write anything exceptional, but I think we did. I think there's a darkness around the album. There's kind of like this, I don't know, there's a brooding sense of, I don't know, just I don't know the word. It's brooding. It's a great piece, and I still love it. I still love it. I still listen to it. I listen to it. Well, I've been listening to it every day, trying to remember bloody lyrics that I've forgotten. They just can't sit in my brain anymore. I've been going, what's going on? Anyway, I'll get it right on the night.
Taking the cheeks out there on stage with you, like.
I'm gonna have some chick in the third row with a t-shirt with all my lyrics on it. It's just I have to wear my glasses now to see it.
So when you finished making that album, like, is it finished? You put it to bed. It was ready to get released. Like, did you have any inkling that it was going to be the breakthrough for the Butterfly Effect? Like, did you know yourselves that it was that good?
I didn't think so. I didn't know. I actually had a chat with Nick Carpenter, the singer from Devolved, at the Trocadero on the Gold Coast just before the Begins Here came out, and I said, "Man, I'm really scared. I don't know if people are going to like it." And he looked at me, put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, "I think people are going to like it, man. I think you'll be all right." And he hadn't even really heard it, so that's that's one thing. But him and our old manager Dave Leonard were who produced the album were great mates. So no, we were kind of very hopeful, and I think when you've kind of got that younger mentality where you're just really enthusiastic, and it's kind of you're just happy to have an album. And we had a record company, and we had there was offers coming in for tours in overseas and stuff. And when the album came out, that was really we played at the Waterloo in Brisbane, like 2000, early 2000 or mid 2003, and we played Perception Twin for the first time, and nobody sang it. And I sat there and went, "Oh shit, what have we done? We've buggered this." And we did a whole national tour. By the time we come back to Brisbane, because they just kept us touring, everyone was singing every word, and that's when I knew. And we sold out the Waterloo, which was like 800 people,
Yeah, it's a big
which was
venue.
huge. And you know, we'd gone from like selling a couple of hundred tickets to selling out the Waterloo, and that was a big deal because I still remember a mate of mine. He said, "Man, if you even half fill like venues, like you're doing well." You know, and then it's you know, we had all these sold out stickers all over our tour poster, which was massive. And case in point, here's the thing that people may not know: we used to get $30 a day. That's all we got paid.
Wow.
And yeah, so when we'd sell out a venue, we were allowed to get 60. We got double. So
Right.
that's when we knew we were starting to get there. We could eat properly because on $30 a day, let me tell you, even back in the early 2000s, you'd get maybe breakfast and dinner if you're lucky.
Yeah. Well, that was your budget from the road, $30 each a day.
$30 a day, man. That's all we could afford. And no one was working at the time. We couldn't work because we're on the road so much.
Yeah,
But
right.
we were trying to pump the money back into the band and pay off recording debts and all this sort of stuff, and pay for, you know, tours to Europe, which aren't cheap, and America. And so like we had to live like paupers, and we lived off $30 a day. So
Good
you
on you.
had to decide whether you wanted to eat lunch and dinner or breakfast and dinner. And when the rider, when they bring the rider out, because they usually give us a case of beer, it's like you'd protect it. You just watch. We call them rider spiders because it's people that come into your room and drink your piss while you're out on stage. Anyway, yeah, you'd kind of we end up stashing beers. Like we'd put a 6-pack over here, we'd take a 6-pack out on stage, and we'd put another six in a drum case because you had to be tight. That's the way we lived. But it was glorious, and we had the best time. It was the most fun I've ever had. I just wish I had worn earplugs and looked after my
Yeah,
voice a bit
true.
better because I'm partly deaf now, man. It's crazy, but good times. Anyway, I hope that answers
No,
the question. I know I waffled on there, but anyway.
that'll do. Now, you released the singles One Second of Insanity, Crave, Always, and Beautiful Mind off that album. But what was your personal favorite song on Begins Here?
That that is a great question, man. Gee, it's hard. It's a hard pick. It's like picking one of your favorite kids. I know we've all got one. We just don't talk
It's
about it.
not supposed to.
Um, I think you know what I really love the lyrical content in Consequence. I think that's his, and also that like the build in the middle section and through the middle. Although you know, Filling Silence has got a special place. I think lyrically, Consequence, probably Rock Out is my favorite to be 1 Second of Insanity, and for the moodiness and the darkness would be Beautiful Mind. So I know that's three, but then I've got, you know, it's kind of like they're all my kids. I can't really say one's better than the other. But those three, I think those three really typify the band sound and the direction we were going in.
Yeah. So you mentioned before that you still listen to the album, but do you think that the songs have aged well? Like, are they still as relevant now as what they were back then?
Yeah, that's man, bloody yeah, another good question. Yes, I think they have. For me, especially, like going back and listening to them again, it's like they don't sound corny. They don't sound like trite. It's you know those things that sometimes musicians come back to and say, I don't know where my head was at. I was on drugs, or I was I was having a stab at me ex or some shit. For me, the reason why they have lasted and they're so relevant to me now is because they covered some really important um, issues in my life and sort of like help. They're very cathartic and helped me sort of get out a lot of shit that was down deep. And so people have said, how is it singing those songs every night? It's like therapy for me, man. It means I get to go out and share them with the crowd, but also they've evolved. They don't mean what they used to mean. They still do have that meaning, but they've evolved. Do you know what I mean? So the lyrical content's sort of more about things that happened later on in life and what arcs back to things that happened early and et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, man, it covers the whole gambit of the evolution of a song, and I think they've aged beautifully. The sound is still relevant to me. It's a timeless sound. We didn't lock ourselves into say like, a hair metal or a
Yeah.
prog rock. Essentially, it covers prog, alternate rock, heavy metal. It's all encompassing. So, and I think that's why it's lasted so long. And also the fact that it was coming from the heart, the songs are real. There was this, sort of destructive force inside the band that was happening at the time. There was relationships forming and breaking down as fast as they'd formed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a relationship like any other. But how we've lasted this long, well, I did take a break. I went on holiday, as we like to call it. It was the blip. You know what I mean? But it's yeah, no, I think they've aged beautifully.
Yeah. Cool. So that album was 20 years ago, bro. So how would you say the Butterfly Effect has grown and changed musically as a band in those 2 decades?
Yeah. Look, we were very fearless back in the day. We were just young kids. Like we didn't really have a sort of a barometer, if you like, to sort of gauge it and have a metric to what was, what was being cool or what we thought we needed to be, and how we thought we were going to sell albums, because there is a business element that creeps in, and it's horrible, because I think that distorts your creativity at some juncture, at some level. It doesn't matter what you do. And I think the best people and the most famous people have harnessed it and used it to propel themselves forward, whereas some people can't and they just fall apart. But we had great management. We had really good record company that let us do whatever we want. There was a lot of infighting and a lot of shit that went inside the band, but that's what it is. There's so much of that, sort of thing, that's what creates the great music and all those great stories. The evolution, and like we've just sort of progressed as we went, and it was like a conscious choice to write Imago and change the styling, because I wanted to write Begins Here Part 2. Final Conversation was supposed to be a concept album that never really saw its due in my mind, because there was a whole little graphic booklet that was coming with it and a whole bunch of other stuff. But of course, budget, time, getting people to do that. And then into 4, that evolution again. It's like, some guys that used to write some heavy music and trying to relive not the glory days, but just taking a different skew, because like, we're all 40 plus years old. Like I said, I wanted to write Begins Here Part 2. We had a bunch of demos and songs that I think would have been perfect, but the guys really wanted to look elsewhere and try some different styles, which is cool because it worked. I mean, Imago was our biggest album, so but yeah, man, it's the evolution, and I think you've got to let it happen. Do you know what I mean? We've grown as people, we've become men, we've all got families, we've all got kids, responsibilities, and that changes you whether you like it or not. Also, the world's a different place. The music industry is a different place. There's streaming. Kids today have attention spans of bloody nits. You know what I mean? It's crazy, man. It's like, and it's also finding your place in the industry still and feeling relevant, because I listen to some of the new stuff like Spirit Box and Sleep Token and shit, and I'm just going, wow, they're just blowing us away. Do you know what I mean? And like, you listen to bloody Bring Me the Horizon and all those guys, and you're like, where, I feel like they feel like a sharp needle and I feel like a sledgehammer. Do you know what I mean? It's very different.
Great
Like the
analogy.
lyric, yeah, man. So like, Sleep Token's lyrics are just next level to me as a lyricist.
Yeah.
The next level, and his vocality is fantastic. And you listen to Spirit Box and their production's off the chart, and I'm like, wow, you just feel like a dinosaur, dude. So look, in that respect, you can only do what you do and do it to the best of your ability as you sit today. Oh shit, I'm kicking shit. Yeah, so just as you can do it today, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
look, nobody expects late 40s dudes to bounce around the stage like they used to. And to be honest, like, I don't know if that looks cool. That's why Maynard stands up the back or sits at a picnic table at the front.
I thought it was just because he was bald.
Well, that could be it too. Yeah. I don't know. I got a full head of hair, so that's why I'm still moving around.
And now you mentioned the album 4, mate. Like that came about in 2022 after a bit of a hiatus with the band. So how was that received? Like, did fans welcome you back? Were they accepting what you were doing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was amazing. I think a lot of people were just glad that we were back. I think the Reformation tour, when we kind of got back together at the end of 2017, and then, the Reformation tour in 2018, people were stoked. And I've talked to many people, and this is the resounding story that keeps sort of coming back, is for a lot of people, it's like a time machine. Do you know what I mean? They get to relive that time where they had the best summer of their lives with their mates. They're at school, the end of school. you know, they met their misses, all that sort of stuff, and partners and all the rest. There was a guy that come up to me that brought his 18-year-old son to one of our shows in Adelaide. Blew my mind. He said,
Wow.
I came to see you when I was 18, and 18 years later I brought my son. And I just gave him a massive hug, and I just said I'm stoked that I got to share that moment, because I mean, how often are you going to get that? Do you know
That's
what I mean? Parents
unreal.
bringing their adult children to the same show that they watched, more or less.
Yeah.
You know, like 18 years ago or 20 years ago, and it's bizarre to me, because I just sit there, I'm like, bloody hell. It's a, like I say, man, I can't stress it more. It's a real privilege, and it's a real moment that you've got to just, you know, envelop yourself in, because yeah, how many more of those are we going to get? And we could be dead tomorrow too, you know.
Well, let's hope not, but it is a
That's not
possibility.
morbid, is it?
Now, this tour winds up on February 23rd, mate. So what's next for the Butterfly Effect after that? Have you got plans, or are you just taking this one and seeing what happens?
Yeah, well, I'm going on holiday after that. I'm out of
How
here.
long
I'm
is the
going to
hiatus
Japan.
for?
I'm going to Japan for 2 weeks. Yeah, I'll be lucky if I get 2 weeks before I got to come back and get to work and work on some new stuff. But there is some new riffs being tossed around, being punted around the band room. I'm not privy to them, because they don't like to show me stuff too early, because I start singing on it, and then when they go and change it later on, then I sit there and crack the shits, because they've changed me good, you know, good melodies and shit. Which annoys me greatly, can I tell you? I've come up with some really good stuff, says me. And they go and change it, and I'm like, man, let's go back to that riff. No, we don't like that riff no more. I'm like, yeah, but the vocal was excellent. No, man. So there is new music in the works. There's talks of Amargo 20th anniversary, just so you know, that you got the scoop. We haven't talked about that.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's all that stuff, man. Look, we're still going to keep going until, well, either we can't stand each other, or someone taps us on the shoulder and politely tells us to please go away.
Or we die.
Yeah, or I get hit by a bus down down Adelaide Street in Brisbane. But no, man, look, we're stoked to keep going. I think for us, it's just what we do, and it keeps us young, and it keeps us feeling relevant to some point. And look, you know, like we take, you know, we've looked at bands like Screaming Jets. They're still going, you know what I mean? And they're like all in their 50s and whatever, and they're still making great music. Rose Tattoo, like Angry's into his 70s. You know, John Farnham still going before he got sick. You know, Jimmy Barnes, etc. And the list goes on and on, mate. All Australian legends. And to me, like, I mean, I went and saw Icehouse not too long ago, and it was exceptional. They were fantastic. So I loved it. So we're going to keep going. There's plenty of new music. We're doing, you know, we're doing tours, and we're going to keep playing for everyone that wants to come and listen to us.
Beautiful. Okay, well, thanks very much for your time, mate. Pleasure as always. The tour kicks off in Brisbane on February the 1st. I'm better pull my finger out and get a ticket, because they're selling really fucking quick. So hopefully I'll see you there.
Awesome, brother. Man, it'd be good to see you. And just one thing on the end there. Just wanted to say thank you to all the fans and to yourself. Thank you for having me. But also check out the socials and get your tickets. But also check out the gin that we released not too long ago, and enjoy yourself. Drink responsibly.
All right, mate. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll hopefully see you at one of the Brisbane shows, brother.
Thanks, brother. We'll see you, mate. Big love.
Take care.